we'll be talking about the political upsets in NASA's stronghold of Western Kenya, that is Kisumu and the rest, after Raila Odinga's remarks, which is obviously engineering a possible fallout between the independents and NASA, who have declared that they will indeed support his candidature. Yet he has said that he will only support those people who are validly nominated, holding tickets belonging to NASA affiliate parties. Remember, some of these independents have stated clearly that they have not accepted the results of the nomination. It was disputed, it was irregular and shambolic. And right now we go over to Oko Kusa, who is standing by with the political analyst, that is Tom Mboya, to speak to us, or to speak to these sentiments from NASA leader Raila Odinga, who is now considered by many as not supporting the independents, in spite of the fact that they support his bid for presidency. Let's take you to Oko Kusa now from our Kisumu studios. Oko.
Well, thank you, Ken. As we promised earlier, that we'll bring in our studios an analyst to just help us put into perspective these recent remarks by Raila that sort of branded the independent ticket holders as enemies of NASA. And right now we have Tom Mboya in the studio, and Tom is going to just tell us briefly what he thinks about the impact of that remark by Raila. Tom, welcome.
Thank you.
Yes. Let's start by dissecting this thing. A lot of uproar in the social media, Raila supporters bashing him all left, right and center, that the stand is not that popular. What do you think?
Yes, you know, these coming elections,
yes,
just as we witnessed during the primaries, it is full of emotions. And to the extent that we keep emotions, then we shall really lose out. This is my perspective, that the issue of independent candidates needs to be understood from three perspectives in relation to what the statement that, the remark that Raila made.
Yes.
One has to do with the democratic right of these candidates. And two, independent candidates are independent to the extent that they can make it alone. And two, in view of that particular remark, in my own view, that my take is that Raila was talking about candidates of ODM and who effectively would be affiliated to NASA, or NASA's other parties' affiliates candidates. To that extent, then it becomes very difficult for him or for other NASA principals to campaign for the independent candidates to that extent. However, it is imperative to note that who are these independent candidates that Raila was talking about?
ODM politicians who lost in the primaries and have now decided to go it alone.
And that is what brings the juicy part of it. One, there are independent candidates who lost fairly, but want to take these elective positions as a do and die. I'm conversant with, I'm aware of those candidates who are number 5, number 6, number 4, but still insist to be independent candidates to the extent that they lost in the primary fairly. How then do you expect Raila to support them? However, there are those candidates that lost unfairly and certificates were given to the losers. These are the independent candidates that with popular support. And so if you block them out, essentially it has got implications as far as the votes for ODM is concerned. And I think it is my take is that let us put aside the emotions and perhaps ODM as a party or NASA, they have a strategic team that they will look at some of these cases case by case, but not blanket condemnation.
Tom, if these independent ticket holders go ahead and trounce ODM nominees in the elections, what sort of political scenario are we looking at here as far as Raila's grip in his strongholds is concerned?
Well, I want to really, I want to go that direction that the primaries, those people who won but were denied the chance, and therefore finally they will make it on August 8th, that it will have a bearing on Raila's grip. Perhaps to some extent, it is my take that come 8th August, yes, 27th, the election day,
yes,
in view of that remark, if these candidates that feel they are popular in the ground and go full throttle,
yes,
then perhaps to some extent it will prove that that wave no longer exists and that they can still make it. But I don't want to go to that direction. I think let us focus on the implications. You know, the presidential elections is so important,
yes,
that one vote is important.
Yes.
It will count. So to the extent that ODM, party secretariat, can do their homework, and this just occurs across the political divide, whether Jubilee or ODM or whichever, they have to do their groundwork to the extent that this particular ward, this particular constituency, this particular county, that in respect to these candidates, they have the numbers.
Speaking of votes and the numbers, Raila says that one, as far as numerical strength is concerned, he must have candidates who are loyal to the party, who are elected on the party ticket. That is when it can be guaranteed of full loyalty when they, in case they ascend to power. And on the other hand, when you talk of votes, a lot of people are saying that Raila's stand could also lead to vote apathy, that disgruntled voters down there may decide to shy away from participating in the August state polls.
This is what I was saying, that it will be incumbent upon the party's strategic teams to really cross-check on the ground. This blanket condemnation to some extent might lead to that voter apathy, because some of the party candidates whom he thought to vied on ODM during the primaries, but again, based on what happened during the primaries, they were locked out, yet they are with the people. These are people that strategic team must bring on board with their people. And therefore, the blanket condemnation, or what you want to call the six Ps,
yes,
to me, might not necessarily work in favor of the quest for Raila. Why am I saying this? He needs, just like his counterpart, Uhuru Kenyatta, they need numbers like never before. How you get that number, God knows. And to the extent that you start suppressing certain candidates, you are effectively suppressing even their voters. So some will say, what am I going to do then?
Is it really suppressing? Because here we are talking of loyalty. We all know that once I go in there as an independent candidate, I owe no allegiance to the party, and therefore I can even decide to vote along the other side in what has come up in Parliament.
My friend, you know, politics is who gets what, when, and how. And the end result is what counts. We must separate between party loyalty and party's presidential votes. In this case, we're talking about NASA's presidential votes, Jubilee's presidential votes. And to the extent that these candidates might add value to that, loyalty does not count here.
Yes.
How can talk about loyalty? So loyalty, again, is the number of votes that will be counted. National, to me, I think, let them focus on the numbers, not loyalty. Loyalty will come, you can manage if Ouko wins, I can bring over. I mean, the ways that that has been.
So you're trying to suggest that Raila should be more concerned about the numbers now vis-a-vis loyalty?
Well, there are two things that I think he needs to be concerned about. There are so many constituencies, wards, counties, where their candidates won fairly, let them give those guys support. However, I want to believe that he's fully aware of certain instances of constituencies, wards, and even counties where there were controversial results and so forth, and the genuine candidates were locked out. These genuine candidates who were locked out, I think they need to talk to them, and there's nothing wrong with doing that. The most important thing to note, though, where I agree with them, ODM as a party or NASA will not use their money to campaign for these independent candidates.
Yes.
However, some of these independent candidates, they have support. And whether Oukos has one vote from Mboya, that vote will be important up there. That is my take. And how to go about it, it is not a question of blanket condemnation of these candidates. I think it is also important accepting and move on where you talked about.
Yes.
Ask yourself, Oukos, why is it that some our politicians, you lose fairly, but you still want? To me, that is what demoralizes me. But where you win, but you are locked out, you still have within the Constitution that right to try it again.
Let's try and look at, and break it down, look at it county-wise. Let's take for Migori, for instance, where Ochila Yako, we all know, has been very loyal to the party and was, as you know, lost in the primaries and has now decided to go independent. What are his chances? What are the dynamics?
You know, Migori, talking about Migori County, Migori is very interesting. One, this is one county that in 2013 surprised many. And it buttresses the perception that popularity of candidates matters more than loyalty. Obado proved this in 2013.
Yes.
He proved that in the recent primaries. And this is where, when we talk about Ochila Yako and Obado in Migori County, it is no longer loyalty. It is that popularity. That popularity is what will add value to NASA's presidential candidate.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Okay. Then let's jump to Homa Bay, where we have Magwanga, Oyugi Magwanga, and Awiti. We all know that that's another bruising battle there. And even as we speak now, we might not tell where the victory will go.
Homa Bay is very, Homa Bay compared to Migori presents us with two scenarios. Migori, Obado won.
Sorry, Magwanga. Okay, Migori. Yes,
Migori,
you're right.
Obado won.
Yes.
In Homa Bay, I think the party primaries, to me, was a total fiasco. And how the incumbent governor was given the certificate, I don't know. Though from some statistics on the ground, which I have, it is a too lost to call even between Magwanga and Cyprian Awiti. This is another case study that I was referring to earlier on, that the party secretariat, the strategy team, must do some groundwork. That where are we? If Magwanga really won, by what margin? Who are these people that supported him, that voted for him? Are they still with him? If they gave Cyprian Awiti certificate, which they did, does it have the numbers? To me, I think that's why I said earlier on, it will be suicidal to have a blanket condemnation of candidates across the board. And Homa Bay, I think it is a free-for-all. And it is one county that if, in my own view, if the party does not do its own calculation well, then I don't know, they'll get a shock of the century. And so it is a case of you can't go to it's a case by case. You go to this constituency, you go to this county, what are the dynamics? So I think they have the technical muscle to do it, but yes. So Homa Bay, it is close to call. Yeah.
Then let's jump Kisumu. We'll come back to it later and have a look at Siaya.
Yes.
Nicholas Gumbo has played along party lines all this time. Rasanga on the other side, we all know he's close. He's perceived to be one of the closest people to Raila Odinga. Another tough one to tell. What are the chances of the independent candidate there?
You know, Siaya again is very interesting. And we cannot compare Siaya County with Homa Bay nor Migori. You know, Luo politics is very interesting to the extent that the words that come out from your lips will haunt you. And so Nicholas Gumbo, during the primaries, he had the support. However, there was a danger, and I'm telling you as an observer.
What was the danger?
He had Jacoyo Midiwo on his side. Jacoyo Midiwo recently, after the nominations, uttered certain statements or made some remarks that even if you go to the ground now, are unpalatable to the electorate. That effectively has suppressed even the support that Gumbo had then. And because of the venomous statements that came from Jacoyo Midiwo, and of course not forgetting the ones that came from of Nicholas Gumbo, that one is a distinct case separate from that of Homa Bay and Migori. And
we know that Jacoyo was, as you've mentioned, had thrown his weight behind Gumbo. On the other side, you saw Guru Odinga, supporting Rasanga. And those two, we also know that are related to the party leader. How has this, shaped did this shape the outcome of the primaries, and how is this expected to pan out when we go to the elections?
Ouko, with all respect, what happened at the primaries, I cannot comment on air. I leave it to the ODM party to talk about it. We all know what happened there. Let me not comment. But what I can suffices to mention that the dynamics of Siaya County, that is where you talk about that loyalty. That talked about that is where it's supposed to be tested. And that's why, to a large extent, I referred to certain remarks which you still have in your archives that were attributed to Nicholas Gumbo and Jacoyo Midiwo immediately after the primaries and so forth. Those statements, if you talk to that Mama Mboga, either in Uyoma or Alego or Rimbo, they're not happy with those statements.
Okay, we'll hope we'll find time to talk about those statements another time. Let's jump to Kisumu.
Yes.
Where we have Governor Jack Ranguma, the incumbent.
Yes.
Facing off with Anyang' Nyong'o, who is perceived to be Raila's close aide.
I think this loyalty and so forth, let us separate them. And let's look at Governor Ranguma as a candidate and Professor Anyang' Nyong'o as a candidate. Let us not tag in Raila. So let us discuss their competence and abilities or potentiality of changing the party. That is the dynamics that I want us to share. One, again, just like Homa Bay, the ODM primary, when it comes to gubernatorial race, again, a lot of question marks. But now that the party, Professor Nyang is going to fly the flag
Yes.
for ODM and NASA in that matter in this county versus the incumbent
Yes.
who has gone independent.
Yes.
To be a litmus test for the incumbency, but it won't be a question of loyalty per se.
Remember, Ranguma, when he was declaring his independent candidature, he made it very clear that his support for Raila, he remains firm. So even as much as he's going to vie as an independent candidate, but he still supports Raila, and that has not changed.
You know, my brother, I said at the beginning that the August 8th, 2017 elections in this our country will be very emotive. Along the line between now and August 8th, there are certain emotions that will be played to the extent that you want to come that I'm supporting so-and-so because I support so-and-so, so give you your votes. You know, Kenyans of today are different from Kenyans of yesterday to the extent that they are rational. And I think, with all respect reserved to all the incumbent governors who are defending their seats, it won't be about party loyalty or individual loyalty. It will be about what have you done to the electorate. To me, that's why it is important when talking about governorial race, you know, from Migori, Homa Bay, Kisumu, and Siaya. The question that electors are going to ask, what have you done? What do you intend to do? And to me, that is what is going to play there. It won't be a question of 6 pays. And I think the 2013 case of Migori and even repeated itself during the party primaries, it is what have you done to your people? It's not a question of, because if you look at staying with, just make you understand the Kisumu politics. If you look at the loyalty of Uchila Yako to the party and to Raila, and the loyalty of Obado, Raila, I think Uchila Yako, I think 85. But he lost.
85,
But he lost. And so it is not a question of Ranguma saying, my loyalty, Professor Nyang was saying, my loyalty to, It is, this is the face of Nyanza. And what have you done? What are you going to do? This is, so in terms of...
Do you still believe that leaders in Nyanza are elected based on those achievements? What have they done to the people? Do you think that still happens in Nyanza?
This is why we are here. And to the extent that we want to shy away from saying that, just about talking about loyalty and so forth, this is the time that these candidates needs to put to task that what have you done? So by Raila's simple remark, now people are talking about party loyalty.
How close are you?
How close are you? And even some friends of mine on social media talking about hang parliament. What I think we are losing it. This is the time that what have you done? Even if you are given that certificate, you have to prove your worth to the electorate. So I think Kisumu is going to be very interesting come August 8th. However, take note of the rationality of the electorate. At times they want people to look that, Ouko is too loyal to Mboya, and therefore just give him no. What does Ouko stand for? What is it going to do about ABCD?
Okay. It goes without saying that this is the first time we are witnessing an influx or a huge number of independent candidates. In the past, we've seen people jumping to other parties, but that has not actually been as huge as what we are witnessing now. What does this imply? Does it mean that the party primaries this time around were more shambolic than before?
No. The high number of independent candidates can be understood from two perspectives. I agree, and this applies to across the political divide, not only unique to ODM. And the shambolic nature of party primaries to some extent underpins the high number of high number of independent candidates.
Yes.
On the other hand, it has to do with some people who have strong belief in politics as everything, to the extent that if Mboya loses number 5, along number 3, I have to be there. Those are that to me is a phenomenon that underpins why so many, because you have to be there. And it departs significantly from the normal democratic practice. If you lose fairly, accept and move on. But to the extent that you lost and lost and lost, but still insist, this is what you see so many. And that's why I said earlier on that it is incumbent upon party leaders really to cross-check, do their own internal party audit. Is Ouko so popular? Ouko lost and lost, but still whatever, forget about him. But Ouko lost unfairly. Bwana, VP. So to me, that is those two phenomena. One, the shambolic primaries to some extent explain that. The other extent can be explained by some politicians who have firm belief that politics is everything to them.
A lot of people, social media, who present themselves as ODM supporters, are advising Raila to concentrate on national politics and leave the other positions in the grassroots for them to decide that he should not meddle. By meddling, he is creating rifts. Do you think that their arguments hold some water?
You know, I don't buy that idea. That one was supposed to be during the party primaries, which I think, by and large, he did not appear to be meddling.
No, they're talking of right now.
This is what I'm coming to that,
okay,
Mr.
okay.
Ouko. Now, you cannot separate any presidential candidate in this country from what is going on at the grassroots level. To me, there will be a terrible mistake. I don't buy it, because across the political divide, all the presidential candidates, independent or otherwise, will have to gel with what goes on, because they'll be interested in the numbers. So if you want them to, what is national in that view? National numbers, national presidential votes, where will they come from? They will come from the ground here. It is against the backdrop that I'm persuaded not to agree with that perception or perspective that national where? Which is this? Where is the question?
But Tom, when you talk of numbers coming from the grassroots, remember that some of these independent candidates some of them actually won in the primaries.
Of course.
But due to what happened, and we all know, they were not able to get those tickets. And therefore, they have the numbers too. They have votes. So if you antagonize them, if you brand them enemies, don't you think you're likely to lose a considerable number of votes?
You are forcing me to repeat what I said earlier on. I said, and I'm repeating it now. If now that you want me to repeat it,
please make it more clear and pronounced.
Where some candidates were made by the party to lose at the primaries, yet up to now as talk, they are still popular. It is incumbent upon the party secretariat to check some of these units, be it at the county level, constituency level, or ward level, so that I said it earlier on, this blanket condemnation of independent candidates does not make sense. That it must be case by case. So to the extent that these candidates have the numbers there, so by Raila coming down, it's actually not meddling, but that whatever must be systematic, calculated, not just blanket, calculated, so that if you come to my backyard where we are competing, the two of us, and there is some almost too close to call, it needs to also to be calculative. If where Uko is just, that one is a no, there's no, I mean, that is my take. Blanket condemnation, where it is the very, very party that caused this, to me, I think is not.
For instance, now in Migori, I'm trying to picture a situation where Raila goes down there to campaign for Obadu against Ayako. I mean, don't you think that there will be some sort of conflict in as far as is concerned? Or Ochilo has been a friend and more than and an ally at the same time.
You know, it is important to understand that when Raila will be going to Migori, he will be going to Migori as another presidential candidate. And that rally will be organized by political parties affiliated to NASA. And that is perhaps, that is where the catch is for the independent candidates. That you don't expect a rally organized with the money by those political parties, NASA, to again give you that forum to speak. That won't be there. The only thing that I think I'm saying is the 6 Ps is tantamount to blanket condemnation of popular candidates. So long as we don't condemn them, but we give them the space to campaign, to me, and so let the voters decide. Because if you condemn them, and they drown, they will drown with their supporters. That won't augur well with the numbers that perhaps the president candidates
in brief, as we wind up, 6 Ps. Is it healthy or is it unhealthy? And do you think it stands a chance?
6 Ps.
6 Ps.
6 Ps.
Does it stifle democracy?
Indeed, it suffocates, not stifle, it suffocates democracy, because you are leaving that voter with very minimal room to make his or her own choice. So I don't really subscribe to 6 Ps, but of course that is driven by real politics. Parties will want, perhaps they have full control of the county assemblies. Parties will want full control of National Assembly. as well as the Senate. And so that perhaps could inform their clarion call for 6 pays. But to that extent, the parties also have that right to demand so. However,
Yes.
if you force it,
Yes.
because the popularity of the party on the ground, like in this region,
Yes.
is so dear,
Yes.
then actually you suffocate, because even those people who did not, you gave them candidates that they did not support, they've gone independent, then again you are closing the window again. No, so to me it suffocates democracy as far as the vote is concerned. But as far as the party's interest concerned, it is good for them.
Okay. Okay. Thank you very much, Tom. Thank you for coming to the studios to provide some perspective on this emotive matter, as you refer to it.
Thank you so
much.
much.